They searched the fields, they searched the forests, they even brought in soldiers and drones. But somehow they missed the slurry tank, the one place that held the truth. Michael Gaine's body wasn't hidden in the mountains. It was on his own farm, less than 50 meters from his car. And now everyone's asking, how did the Gardaí miss it? Michael Gaine wasn't just another name on a missing persons list. He was a 56-year-old sheep farmer from Kenmare, County Kerry, quiet, hard-working, and deeply rooted in his land. On March 20th, 2025, he was last seen at a local Central store buying phone credit. By the next morning, his phone went dead. His car was found parked near his land. No signs of a struggle, no signs of life. The Gardaí launched a missing persons investigation. Locals, soldiers, and search dogs combed the area. But for nearly 2 months, they didn't find him. Until May 16th, when his nephew, while spreading slurry on Michael's farm, hit something in the tank. That something was a human body part. The remains were later confirmed. It was Michael Gaine. And here's the kicker. That slurry tank had already been searched. Or so they said. Let's talk about the tank. The slurry tank wasn't hidden. It wasn't underground. It wasn't miles away. It was right next to Michael Gaine's car, the car he was last seen driving. And yet, when the Gardaí conducted their early searches, they said the tank was checked. Drones were flown overhead. Heat-sensing cameras were used. Divers were allegedly sent in, but nothing was found. At least, that's the official story. Fast forward to May 16th, Michael's nephew, just doing farm work, finds a body part blocking the machinery. He wasn't trained in forensic science. He wasn't using thermal imaging. He was spreading fertilizer, and he found what the authorities missed for weeks. Locals were stunned, outraged. How could they not find him? One neighbor told the press he was in the tank the whole time. It raised the question that burned across headlines in Ireland. Was the Gardaí search thorough at all or just for show? The moment the truth came out, the town of Kenmare exploded with frustration. Not just sadness, not just grief, pure, burning anger. People weren't just mourning Michael Gaine. They were demanding answers from the Gardaí and not getting any. Residents said the whole thing felt like a cover-up or a massive failure. How can you miss a body in a slurry tank you said you already checked? That question wasn't just whispered in pubs, it was on national news. Local volunteers who had helped in the search said they felt betrayed. They spent weeks combing through bogs, rivers, and forests, only to find out the Gardaí might have skipped the one place they should have prioritized. There were no press conferences explaining the failure, no apologies, just silence and a vague statement about ongoing investigations. Even worse, people began wondering if the delay cost the case, because every day that body sat in that tank, evidence was dissolving. And yet, no one at the top seemed to care. On May 17th, the day after Michael Gaine's remains were found, the Gardaí made a move. They arrested a man in his 50s, someone who knew Michael well, someone who had worked on the farm. His name? Michael Kelly, a former US Marine who had lived in Ireland for several years. He wasn't a stranger. He had reportedly lived on the property, worked alongside Gaine, and was known in the community. But just days after his arrest, the Gardaí let him go. No charges, no explanation, just a vague statement. He's not a flight risk. The investigation is ongoing. What really raised eyebrows? Kelly had been issued a deportation notice before the murder even happened. Yet he was still here. And now, despite being arrested in connection to a brutal dismemberment, he's walking free. Even more disturbing, no one has been charged in the murder of Michael Gaine. Weeks after discovering his body, the Gardaí have given no clear direction, no named suspect, no justice. Locals are now asking, did the Gardaí jump too fast and fumble the arrests? Or worse, are they still covering something up? This is where things start to feel less like a tragedy and more like a complete investigative collapse. Let's break it down. When someone goes missing, the first 72 hours are critical. That's the golden window for gathering forensic evidence before it's lost, moved, destroyed, or degraded. But in Michael Gaine's case, that window was blown wide open. From March 21st, when he was reported missing, until May 16th, when his body was finally found, nearly 2 full months passed. And where was his body during all that time? Dissolving inside a slurry tank. A slurry tank is filled with corrosive agricultural waste. It doesn't just mask smell. It breaks down organic matter, rapidly destroying physical evidence like blood traces, fibers, tool marks, and even time of death indicators. Every day that body remained inside that tank, key evidence was vanishing. Evidence that could have pointed clearly to who did it, how they did it, what they used. The guard even knew about that tank early on. They even claimed they had searched it. But the truth is, no remains were found until a farmer accidentally discovered them. And by then, much of what a forensic team could have worked with was likely gone for good. It gets worse. Reports now suggest that a chainsaw may have been used in the dismemberment. It's under forensic analysis. But without the full body, without clear tissue condition, and without intact surroundings, the context is gone. Even CCTV footage in surrounding areas is under review months later. But by now, you can imagine what's happened to most of that. Erased, looped over, or too blurry to help. Bottom line, this wasn't just a botched search. It was a botched crime scene. And that, right there, could be the difference between justice and permanent silence. Michael Gaine's family didn't just lose a brother, an uncle, a loved one. They lost any sense of peace. From day one, they begged for help. They told the Gardaí he wouldn't just disappear. They asked for the slurry tank to be searched properly. They waited for answers. What they got? Weeks of silence, false hope, and finally a body found by accident. His nephew will now live with the trauma of being the one who found him. Not a detective, not a forensic expert. Family. Now the family's asking questions the Gardaí still haven't answered. Why wasn't the slurry tank thoroughly searched the first time? Why did it take nearly 2 months to classify this as a homicide? Why is no one charged? Why is the main suspect walking free? They buried a man who was butchered on his own land. They waited for justice. It never came. And as of today, they're still waiting. Kenmare isn't a city where people disappear. It's a small, tight-knit town where everyone knows everyone and where the land, the people, and the silence speak louder than words. So when Michael Gaine went missing, the whole community showed up. Volunteers searched day and night. Neighbors walked through mud, rivers, forests, even dug by hand. But while they searched with heart, the Gardaí searched with protocol, with clipboards, with drones, with cold clinical detachment. And still they missed him. Locals are furious, not just because their friend was found in a slurry tank, not just because the Gardaí failed, but because they were lied to. They were told the tank was checked. They were told all leads were being followed. They were told everything possible was being done. Now they feel used, disrespected, betrayed, and they're speaking out. If they had just listened to the family, if they had just done their job, he would have been found weeks ago. We trusted them, they let us down. If this can happen to Michael, it can happen to any of us. In the eyes of this community, the Gardaí didn't just fumble a case, they failed a town. You'd think that after a man's body was found just meters from where he vanished, after the public outcry, after the trust was shattered, someone from the Gardaí would step forward, hold a press conference, offer an explanation, say anything. But instead, silence, no formal apology to the family, no breakdown of what went wrong, no admission of mistakes, just generic press releases saying the investigation is ongoing. No transparency, no leadership, no one taking responsibility. The head of the search operation hasn't faced a single tough question. The officers in charge of the Slurry tank search haven't been named. And when local journalists ask for clarity, they're hit with, "We can't comment on an active investigation." But here's the thing. People aren't asking for details of the case. They're asking, why did it take 2 months to find a body 50 meters from a parked car? Why was the search scene cleared without results, only to have family members find the remains later? Who is being held accountable? And the Gardaí's silence. It's not protecting the investigation. It's destroying public trust. This isn't just about Michael Gaine anymore. It's about how Ireland handles missing persons, and whether the system is built to protect its people or to protect itself. The silence from the Gardaí may have worked in the past, but not this time. Michael Gaine's case has hit the nail, and now politicians are demanding answers. Several TDs, members of parliament, have publicly called the investigation a disgrace. They're pushing for an independent review of how the search was conducted, a full report on why the Slurry tank wasn't searched properly, disciplinary action for any negligent conduct, a review of missing persons protocols nationwide. One lawmaker put it bluntly, if this is how the Gardaí handle a missing farmer in Kerry, what's happening in every other quiet corner of this country? This isn't about headlines anymore. It's about systemic failure, and the pressure is building. Because if justice doesn't come from inside the system, it'll be forced from the outside. Michael Gaine deserved better. His family deserved better. And the people of Ireland deserve answers. This case isn't just about one man's brutal death. It's about what happens when institutions stop listening, when families are left to dig for the truth literally. The Gardaí had every opportunity to solve this quickly. They had the resources, they had the location, they had the responsibility, but they failed. And unless someone is held accountable, they'll do it again. If this case shook you, share this video. Comment with your thoughts. Let's keep the pressure on. Because justice doesn't just happen. We demand it.